Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and we have another Godzilla vs. Kong update, not regarding the movie itself, but regarding those two graphic novel prequels that we know are coming. We have titles and plot synopses. Now, bear in mind, any of this stuff can be potentially subject to change, particularly the titles. I don't know how final they are, but at the moment, this is what we've got, so I'm going to convey them to you here. The title for the Godzilla book is Godzilla Dominion, and the title for the Kong book is Kingdom Kong. Sort of an interesting contrast between the two. Dominion and Kingdom essentially mean the same thing. It's an area of land that a particular person or persons rule over. But I don't necessarily know if there's any special reason to use two different terms other than because with Kingdom you can use the play on King Kong without necessarily getting in trouble with Universal, who might own most of the rights but then again can't because King Kong is public domain. You know what a mess that is, and if you haven't, I provided links to a video explaining it. But anyway, let's get into the plot synopses. The plot synopsis for Godzilla Dominion reads as follows. A unique story that picks up after the events of the film Godzilla, King of the Monsters, where the Titans have risen and the reign of Godzilla has begun. As told entirely from Godzilla's point of view, the graphic novel brings new insights into the King of the Monsters, his habitats, ancient rivalries, challenges, and encounters with new titans. As his new era of dominance is tested, a coming confrontation with another king looms. So once again, this is confirming that Dominion will be a pure Godzilla story, a story that many fans have been waiting for that is 100% Godzilla's perspective. Not that we haven't gotten this sort of thing before. As I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in the past, IDW did it a couple times with the series Godzilla in Hell and a few issues of Godzilla Rulers of Earth. And back when Dark Horse had the license, there was this one issue, one of the last actually, in which Godzilla fell through time and wound up fighting a space dragon that was not King Ghidorah, but that turned out to be one of those it was all a dream or was it kind of stories. Still, just because there's precedent doesn't mean this isn't a rare occurrence. And ever since Michael Dougherty said he would love to do a Godzilla BC movie that was mostly from the kaiju's perspective, well, who knows, maybe this is testing the waters. But anyway, moving on to Kong's prequel. Here's the synopsis for Kingdom Kong. A sequel to the graphic novel Skull Island: Birth of Kong and a prelude to the film Godzilla vs. Kong, the upcoming Kong prequel graphic novel will follow a group of highly skilled military pilots gathered together on Skull Island to see who has the right stuff to take on a dangerous mission in the Hollow Earth. Wow, that was a long sentence. Okay, moving on. One of the pilots, Audrey, is haunted by the memories of a monster's clash with one of Godzilla's titanic rivals that left deep scars. When Skull Island is attacked by Camazotz, a bat-like titan, Audrey must come to terms with her inner demons, and finding his home newly threatened, Kong must rise to face this usurper that would plunge the world into perpetual night. Interesting, so we already heard that Camazotz was a creature that represents darkness, but the idea that he could potentially plunge the entire world into darkness, that's new information. The only other Titan we've seen with that potential power is King Ghidorah, but that's because his wings literally generate storms whenever he flaps. So Camazotz is going to be one heck of an opponent. And of course, unlike Dominion, this is going to be a very human-centric story from the looks of it. In fact, Kong doesn't really get a mention until the very last sentence. Of course, Skull Island: Birth of Kong also made a point of keeping Kong off-screen for as long as possible during the present-day events, always teasing that he was going to show up, but not actually having him show up until the very end, as if somebody issued a challenge to the writers to see if they could withhold the main event monster for longer than Godzilla 2014 did. And once again, I find it interesting that we have these two different stories with these two different characters, and yet Godzilla is the one we're getting the more personal story about. Or at least that's how it's seeming at this point. On the other hand, maybe the human focus of Kong's story holds its own significance. Maybe that's meant to show that there really is more of a connection between him and humanity. But do any of those provide clues as to which one of them will be the protagonist or antagonist? Not necessarily. If the reason for this difference is meant to show us that Godzilla is more about nature and Kong is more about people, which the movies themselves show is not quite as clear of a definition, but even if that's what the prequels are going for, well, that doesn't necessarily mean one is going to be the antagonist over the other. I still wonder if perhaps they're going to do a Gamera 3 style fake out, or who knows, maybe there is another foe that they'll have to face that we just haven't seen yet. Whatever the case, we've got our plot synopses and we've got our titles. Oh, and it's also worth noting we have a release date. Apparently they're both going to be released on March 30th of 2021. Again, that's for now. As we've seen, release dates are subject to change. But that actually gives us quite a few months separation. I think that's the longest we've had to wait so far. With the other prequel graphic novels, they were released fairly close to the actual movie. It would be like 1 week the books came out, and then next week, or maybe even a couple days later, the movie hit theaters. I don't know why they're choosing to release them in March, but there you go. Anyway, that's our big update for now. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe, then go down to the description to find links to follow us on DeviantArt, Patreon, and Twitter. While you're there, you'll also find the Amazon links for the original novels Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, and The Occult Mafia. 2 books I think you'll really enjoy. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.